Listen to me now with every fiber of your being as though your very soul depends on these words, because for once, it does. What you are about to hear is not a lullaby of pleasantries nor a mere collection of motivational lines for a fleeting rush of excitement. This is a clarion call, a line drawn in the sand between the man you have been and the man you could become if only you have the faith, the resolve, and the unbreakable discipline to seize it. I ask you, what if the next 12 months of your life look exactly like the last 12 unless you decide otherwise? And what if the real enemy is not failure but drift, that sneaky, silent killer that enslaves you by the inch until you look up and see entire years gone by, wasted on small thinking, timid action, and suffocating comfort? Millions of men wander through life not because they are inherently broken, but because they never decide to rise. Do not let that be your story. Do not let that be your silent surrender. Today is your awakening. Today is your reckoning. This is not a moment of casual entertainment. This is a confrontation with destiny. You are standing at the doorway of transformation. On one side, the drift that slow fade into mediocrity. On the other, a blazing call to purpose. You have known deep in your heart that you are meant for more, but knowing alone does not transform. Decision, does repetition, does persistent burning desire, does, if knowledge were enough, we would be surrounded by men living at their peak. But that is not reality. The reality is that most men sense a higher self waiting inside but never step forward to meet it. Instead, they wait. They defer, they cling to old routines and drift silently through life, letting the world shape them instead of shaping the world. I have studied the giants of industry and leadership, Edison, Ford, Lincoln, Schwab, Carnegie, not to admire them from a distance, but to extract the essence of what made them unstoppable. Do you know their true power? They acted from choice, not chance. They had definiteness of purpose so deeply etched into their minds that the world had no choice but to bow. They did not drift. They decided. They did not hope. They moved. They did not cower. They conquered their own fears. And most importantly, they never waited for permission. They gave themselves orders to rise. They had a burning desire that refused to be extinguished by adversity, delay, or the whispering doubts of lesser men. Now, if you feel a tremor of urgency in your chest, good. That is the spark telling you that drifting another year is no longer an option. You have exhausted the path of aimlessness, overthinking, and invisible fear. You already know where that leads: regret, stagnation, the slow decay of dreams abandoned. You see, the danger of drifting is not merely the loss of time. It is the gradual erosion of self. Each day that passes without definiteness of purpose is a day that chips away at the core of who you could become. Another layer of doubt, another anchor of indecision, another tie to a life unworthy of your true potential. Listen closely. Life does not improve by accident. Time does not heal your lack of direction. The future is designed by the man bold enough to shape it. That man, if you dare, can be you. But to create a different year, you must become a different you. Not through a single burst of motivation, but through systematic reprogramming of the mind, through daily repetition that carves a new identity. You must wage war on your old self until the very memory of drifting is swallowed by the presence of your new discipline. Do you hear me? You do not need another lifeless piece of information. You need reprogramming. Your current self was built by the repetition of fear, excuses, and half-hearted habits. Only a new rhythm of repeated decisiveness, repeated purpose, repeated affirmation can rebuild you as a man of unstoppable momentum. So if you think listening to this once will change you, you are mistaken. The mind does not obey fleeting inspiration. It obeys dominant thoughts hammered into place by relentless repetition. That is why I demand that you return to these words over and over until they're imprinted in your mind like your own name. You have 12 months ahead, but even that is too broad. Let's talk about every day, every hour, every breath. Each moment is a chance to deepen your identity as a builder of destiny or slip back into the quicksand of apathy. Which path do you choose? Let this message become the end of hesitation, the unveiling of clarity, the final acceptance that this year will only change because you do. And you can, if you seize your mind and your decisions with absolute determination, take a deep breath, prepare yourself, because from this moment forward, every excuse, every rationalization, every hidden fear will be exposed. And if you let these words sink deep into your subconscious by daily emotion-filled repetition, you will never be the same man again. Most men are not truly living. They are drifting. They do not make decisions. They defer them. They do not walk with purpose. They shuffle aimlessly, waiting for external cues. They do not plan their lives. They exist by default. And the first sign that your mind has mastered you instead of you mastering it is drift. The perpetual, I'll do it tomorrow. The chronic hesitation, the repeated excuses that lull you into a false sense of security. Drift is the devil's workshop. I have named it as the greatest tool used against men, the insidious force that corrupts not through explosive failure, but through subtle inertia. When you drift, you need not be destroyed by a giant calamity. You simply deteriorate from within day by unremarkable day until you hardly recognize yourself. It is not that you are evil or incompetent. You are just asleep, lulled by pointless comforts and petty distractions. Yet the cost of drifting is immeasurable, untapped potential, unlived dreams and regrets that haunt you in the final moments of your life. Let me be brutally honest. Most men will die as drifters. They will leave no real impact, build nothing of substance, and go to the grave with the best of themselves undiscovered, all because they never declared war on drifting. If you want to avoid that fate, if you want your existence to matter, you must choose to become a decided man. You must plant your flag in the ground and say enough. I will not be moved by whim or worry. I will live by design, not default. And the key to living by design is to install your definite chief aim, not a feeble wish, not a maybe someday daydream. I am talking about a singular, dominating, obsessive purpose that becomes the compass of your every choice. The anchor in every storm, the fuel in every fatigue. Everyone from Carnegie to Ford shared this trait. They lived each day with their focus fixed on a purpose so clear that no obstacle, no criticism, no delay could break their stride. It is time for you to pick up that torch. If you do not choose your aim, the world will choose it for you, and it will always choose something far beneath your potential. So decide now with finality. I know where I am going. I know who I am. I do not drift. I decide. I design. I dominate. Burn those words into your brain with emotional repetition. Let them become the lens through which you see yourself and your life. Because every time you speak them with fire, your subconscious listens, and the more it hears them, the more it will organize your reality to match. But understand, new identity cannot coexist with old habits. You must create an environment in which the old you cannot survive. That might mean discarding familiar routines, stepping away from comfortable relationships, or obliterating distractions that quietly devour your time. It is not easy, but it is necessary. The cost of drifting for one more year is not just 12 months of lost potential. It is a deeper erosion of self. You lose the man you could have become. So, do you see how high the stakes truly are? This is your wake-up call from the depths of your own conscience, not from me, not from your boss, not from your family, but from the highest part of yourself that refuses to be caged. Another year of lying to yourself with grand resolutions, only to watch them vanish by February, is unacceptable. Another year waking up the same man, living the same life, running the same mental scripts is a tragedy. Time is marching on whether you choose to act or not. The question is, will you march with it in triumph or stand still and watch life pass you by? Now, let us talk about the force that makes your mind either your greatest ally or your worst enemy thought itself. All success and all failure originate first in the mind. Before a year is wasted on distractions, it is first wasted in the mind through chaotic thinking. Before a vision is realized, it is first constructed in the mind by unwavering focus. Thought is the root. Your reality is the fruit. If you neglect the root, you can never expect the fruit to flourish. We live in an age of overload. The average man's mind is a sponge absorbing every fear, every limiting belief, every sensational worry broadcast by those who have no stake in his success. The question is not whether you are being influenced, it is who is doing the influencing. If you do not consciously direct your thinking, the world will subversively direct it for you, and the world, I assure you, is built to keep you drifting. Therefore, the tool I have championed for decades remains relevant and absolutely necessary today: auto-suggestion. This is the daily deliberate infusion of chosen thoughts into your subconscious mind. Every morning, every evening, maybe multiple times a day, you speak your purpose, your beliefs, your identity statements out loud with enough emotion that your subconscious cannot help but take them as truth. It is not magic. It is mental engineering. The mind will always believe what it hears, most often, especially when spoken by you with the fire of conviction. Carnegie, Edison, Ford. They did not wait to see evidence before believing. They believed, first repeated that belief until it was unbreakable, and only then did the evidence appear. Thought is cause. Circumstance is effect. If you want your next year to reflect greatness, your mind must carry that greatness, now not later. That is how you design your future rather than stumble into it. Repetition is the only method, because if you do not repeat your chosen thoughts, the world will gladly repeat its fear-driven, small-minded suggestions for you. If you are not programming your mind, it is being programmed anyway, and rarely to your benefit. This is where discipline becomes the hinge on which your entire destiny swings. You cannot drift when you are locked into the daily discipline of auto-suggestion, affirmation, and purposeful action. You build unstoppable momentum. You become a man who moves forward even on days he doesn't feel like it. And that is the only man the world ultimately respects. Do not, I beg you, fall into the trap of waiting for the perfect moment. Waiting is the silent killer of dreams. We romanticize the right time, the right mood, the right level of confidence, but those who do great things do not wait for the conditions to be perfect. They act, they adjust, they persist, and they create the conditions they desire. You can build the best blueprint for your life, but until you lay the first brick, you are only fantasizing. So let us get practical. Do you have a daily structure, a set of non-negotiable actions that align with your chief aim? Or do you wander through each day hoping to muster willpower or inspiration? Inspiration is a fair-weather friend. It shows up late and leaves early. Discipline is a lifelong companion that never abandons you if you never abandon it. The next year will be shaped brick by brick, habit by habit, repeated with relentless consistency, not by occasional bursts of enthusiasm. The Edison who invented the electric light was also the Edison who faced thousands of experiments that exploded in his face. Yet he persisted, fueled not by a mood but by an inner command. I will find the solution. That is the energy you must bring to your days. That is the level of persistence that transforms an ordinary man into a force of nature. Most men speak grandly about their potential, but do nothing daily to expand it. They chase superficial comforts, indulge every distraction, and wonder why their lives do not change. If you want to stop wasting time, then place guardrails on your day so that drifting is impossible. That means you do the tasks that matter, whether you feel like it or not. That means you run your morning routine with military-like precision. That means you reflect each night on what you built, what you created, and whether you move closer to your purpose or not. But there is another great enemy standing between you and your rebirth: fear. Let us name it plainly. Fear is behind so many hesitations, so many delayed decisions, So many half-hearted attempts that never see completion. But understand this, the bravest men are not those who feel no fear. They are those who feel it, see it, and act anyway. Fear is not your executioner unless you obey it. The moment you let fear dictate your choices is the moment you surrender your power. The Henry Ford, who was called a fool for imagining the 8-cylinder engine, also experienced fear. He risked ridicule, bankruptcy, and public humiliation, but instead of letting fear stop him, he repeated a new command to his mind. Build it anyway. And so it was built. Let that be your phrase when fear, doubt, or external opinion tries to hold you back. Do it anyway. Let fear be your signal to move forward, for only then do you become a man who is truly alive and truly free. Now, let us not merely talk about conquering fear in vague terms. You conquer fear through deliberate exposure. Each day you step a little closer to what intimidates you. You do the uncomfortable deed. You have the difficult conversation. You sit alone with your doubts and breathe through them rather than running away. Little by little, the hold fear has on you diminishes. With each repetition of courage, you weaken the chain, and eventually fear becomes just another piece of scenery on your path, not the fortress blocking it. Yet, none of this transformation will stick. None of this new identity will hold if you refuse to speak it into your subconscious daily. Remember, your subconscious mind is always listening, always absorbing, always ready to accept the repeated directive. Are you going to feed it the memory of your old self, or will you feed it the blueprint of your new self? If you are not intentional, the old patterns will reassert themselves every time you face fatigue or disappointment. That is why autosuggestion is not a one and done. It is your lifelong companion, your daily food for the mind. Every habit you develop is a vote for who you become, so vote wisely. Your next year is the sum total of these votes cast on a day-to-day basis. Do not fool yourself into thinking big changes come from big radical events. They come from little daily disciplined steps repeated so consistently that they become second nature, no longer a forced action, but an outflow of who you are. If you truly want a different life, you must be willing to give up the person you've been. You cannot cling to old identities and old excuses while stepping into a grand future. The two cannot coexist. Identity is not fixed. It is chosen, installed, reinforced. You can decide right now that your old story, your old, fear-driven self is no longer welcome, but that decision must be so deeply felt, so repeatedly affirmed that it overrides years of unconscious programming. Thomas Edison repeated success in his mind long before the world saw it. Henry Ford repeated his vision until the world was forced to recognize its reality. Andrew Carnegie, coming from poverty, repeated the identity of a wealthy man long before he possessed wealth, because the mind does not operate on external evidence. It operates on internal repetition. If you repeat lack and weakness, you manifest lack and weakness. If you repeat power and abundance, you manifest power and abundance. It truly is that simple, yet that profound. Let us talk about the 6 basic fears that often sabotage men. The fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of losing love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Each of these whispers that you should play small, stay safe, and remain in the shadows. But if you obey those whispers, you will watch the months slip by watch, your dreams stand in the corner unfulfilled until you are too tired or too resigned to care. That is a fate worse than any risk you might face in pursuit of greatness. Build faith. My friend, faith in your purpose, faith in your capacity to grow, faith in the unstoppable forces that align. When you truly commit, faith is not merely religious sentiment. It is the mental muscle that believes in the unseen. It sees the possibility of victory where others see walls. It keeps you marching through the deserts of doubt, the nights of adversity, the storms of criticism. Without faith, you will hesitate. With faith, you will rise. Faith is active. It is not passive hope. It is repeated certainty. You must tell yourself every day that your future is bright, not because the stars are aligned, but because you have decided to align them. You must say, I believe in my power to create, I believe in my ability to persist, I believe in the man I am becoming, and then you must back that belief with action. Immediate, fearless, decisive action, because belief without action collapses into hollow fantasy. Action gives belief a spine. And so we circle back to repetition, the golden key that so many overlook. The mind is malleable, but only through consistent pressure applied in the same direction. If you read this or hear this once and say, that sounds good, you have gained nothing but momentary excitement. If you read or hear it daily, letting each word carve itself into your subconscious, you begin the slow, steady transformation that leads to unstoppable identity. I can almost hear the old self inside you, the voice of cynicism, the one that says, it can't be that simple, or I've tried to change before. That voice is a liar. It is the voice of drift and fear trying to keep you in chains. Overrule it by continuing to feed your new self. Keep repeating. Keep deciding. Keep moving forward, especially on days when you feel the weakest. On those days, your discipline is forging the strongest links in your new chain of identity. Your environment, your daily habits, your circle of influence, your mental diet, these are the crucial factors that either anchor you to your old self or catapult you into your new life. Do not be naive. You cannot keep doing the same things with the same people in the same places and expect your identity to magically shift. You must create an ecosystem that supports the man you are determined to be. That might mean removing certain negative influences or drastically altering how you spend your free time. Make those decisions swiftly because your future depends on them. Now I want you to imagine your next 12 months unfolding. Imagine each morning you rise with clarity, affirm your purpose, and take action regardless of how you feel. Imagine each night you reflect on what you've built, proud of the bricks laid toward your ultimate vision. Imagine that sense of unstoppable momentum growing inside you day by day, fueled by faith, forged by discipline. That is not a fantasy. It is a blueprint for what can be yours if you choose to do the work. But the alternative is just as real and far more common. Another year spent repeating the old self, making half-hearted attempts that fizzle out, letting Netflix, social media, and trivial comforts seduce you into stagnation. Another year of quiet frustration, telling yourself next time while time slips away. When you come to the end of that year, you will either have built a stronger identity or reinforced a weaker one. There is no neutral. You are always in motion, either forward or backward. So decide, right now in this moment, feel the weight of these words in your chest and make a declaration. I do not drift. I do not delay. I do not obey fear. I am the builder. I am the decision. I am the result. I repeat power daily. I rise by repetition. I finish what I begin. Say it again. Let it resonate in your bones. This is your new war cry. This is the standard you hold yourself to every day. This is the line in the sand that says you are done with the old you. The old excuses are ashes now. Burn them all. And as you carry this conviction forward, remember that the entire world is waiting to see if you will truly change. Let them watch. Let them doubt. Let them criticize. And let that fuel you to even greater focus. For the men who shape history never needed the approval of the masses. They needed only a burning desire, a chief aim, a devotion to repetition, and the discipline to persevere when comfort tried to lull them back to sleep. That is your birthright. That is your mission. Not another year stolen by passivity, but a year claimed by decisiveness. Not another year of living in the gray zone of half commitments, but a year of blazing clarity that sets your soul on fire. You have the power to rewrite your identity, to choose your mindset, to build your future. Not in theory, but in practice. Not occasionally, but daily, brick by brick, command by command, affirmation by affirmation. So what will you do? Will you drift back into the shadows of doubt and delay? Or will you step forth, seize your mind, and shape the future as the unstoppable force you were always meant to be? The choice is yours. It has always been yours, and now it is time to choose with absolute finality. I will end with a bold call to action. Let this be the last day you ever wonder if you are capable of more. Let this be the last day you ever wait for someone else's permission. You have your own. Let this be the day you decide to become the architect of your destiny instead of a drifter to circumstance. Speak it aloud, stake your claim on it, and then go forth into action. Make the next 12 months the greatest turning point of your life by refusing, once and for all, to drift. And now if you feel that surge, if you feel that unquenchable thirst to become the dominant force in your own life, subscribe right now, commit right now so you never lose sight of this new mission. By subscribing, by stepping into this circle of higher standards, you anchor these principles deeper into your consciousness. You declare to yourself and to the world that you have awakened and that you will not return to the sleep of drift. Act immediately, subscribe, commit, and unleash that dormant power. This is your moment to rise, and I promise you, once you cross this line, you will never be the same man again. Now go forth and build your destiny. The world is waiting for the sound of your footsteps.